This episode contains content not suitable for children. Listener discretion is advised.
Education isn't what some people declare it to be, namely, putting knowledge into souls that lack it, like putting sight into blind eyes. Plato's Republic.
What is the purpose of education? To fill students' heads with knowledge? To prepare children for the real world? According to the U.S. Department of Education, the goal is to promote student achievement and preparation for global competitiveness. The Texas Constitution says a general diffusion of knowledge is essential to the preservation of liberties and rights of the people. But are public schools really preparing our children for success? Are they preparing the children of today to be the leaders of our republic tomorrow? Or are they more focused on advancing radical gender theory and sexualizing kids? I'm Sarah Gonzalez, and this is episode 3 of Exposed, the War on Texas Kids.
Do you know how easy it is to completely change your body with hormones? I grew up within my first month of being on testosterone.
They tend to dance around the children more. They tend to get tipped when they're around the children more because parents are handing the children their money.
Why is it so necessary to constantly remind kids of the gender binary that we as a society literally made up?
Drag is an exploration of what gender can be.
For decades, American parents assumed that they didn't have to worry about what books their kids were reading or if their teachers would intentionally expose their children to pornography. But after-school districts across the country forced thousands of children into online classes, parents had direct access to the books and worksheets teachers had assigned, and they quickly noticed disturbing trends. At Leander ISD, a school district near Austin, Texas, parents voiced concerns at a school board meeting about the book Queerfully and Wonderfully Made after an 11-year-old child checked it out at the school's library. The book, advertised as a guide for LGBTQ plus Christian teens, includes chapters answering questions like, can I look at porn? How do queer people even have sex? And can I go to the local queer sex shop? Although officials at Leander ISD eventually apologized and promised to restrict children's access to obscene books, parents in other cities across Texas continued to find sexually explicit materials in public school libraries. October 2021, Keller ISD. Parents discover the graphic novel Gender Queer in one of the district's libraries. The book, written by Maya Kobabe, who uses the pronouns EM-air and claims to be a non-binary asexual, depicts sex acts between adolescents. January 2022, Prosper ISD. A group of citizens asked the district to review 82 books found at the ISD's libraries, including Lawn Boy, a coming-of-age novel portraying scenes of oral sex between children. April 2022, Frisco ISD. A retired teacher posts excerpts from 2 obscene books in the district's libraries. One book, the graphic novel Blue is the Warmest Color, includes drawings of lesbian teenagers engaged in sex acts. Later in the year, during a public meeting, a school board member actually stopped a mother from reading aloud portions of a book available to students at the school library because it was too graphic.
The boy pushed the girl's head down and she started to kiss his. She was still crying. Finally, she stopped crying because he put his in her mouth, and I don't think you can cry in that position. I ask you why this book has survived 2 attempts.
Your time is up. Thank you so much. And there's a child in our boardroom, so I'd like for you to please stop reading that.
However, parents soon found that sexually explicit materials and radical ideologies weren't just in school libraries. Austin ISD held a Pride Week in March 2022, encouraging students to walk in gay pride parades and sponsoring drag queen performances during a district-wide party where the event's drag queen host, Diamond Dior Davenport, said,
"It makes me so happy to see these kids living like this and their parents showing them the LGBTQ lifestyle at such a young age."
One 12-year-old child who attended the Pride Out party in the park was quoted as saying,
"I love drag queens. They're the biggest idols of my life."
Further north, at a school in Lewisville, Texas, parents were outraged after their counseling services webpage directed students to an organization hosting queer sex ed classes. Another website links students to Q Chat Space, a chat-based live discussion group for LGBT 13 to 19-year-olds. The site encourages teens to hide their participation in the group from their parents and includes a quick escape bar at the bottom of every page, which, if clicked, switches the screen to the Google homepage. These discoveries, and countless others, sparked controversy across the nation as parents voiced concerns that, maybe giving children access to explicit materials might force them to grow up too fast. However, instead of being met with equal concern from educators, parents and most teachers actually found themselves on opposite sides of the issue.
Often a person's concern about a children's or young adult book involves a desire to protect all children by removing that item from the collection or restricting access to it. Explain that each family has the right to determine which library resources are acceptable for its children and must accord the same right to other parents. The American Library Association.
Imagine if parents were put on panels to make decisions about how doctors treat patients, how bus drivers follow traffic laws, or the diagnoses counselors give. Reproducing once doesn't make you an expert in any profession, let alone one who controls other people's kids. Willie Carver Jr., Kentucky's 2022 Teacher of the Year.
In the United States, most public school teachers attend a 4-year university to get an education degree. And many of those teachers go on to higher education. According to a study from the National Center for Education Statistics, for the 2017 to 2018 school year, 58% of public school teachers had master's degrees. Now, future teachers and those who continue their education attend universities that push radical gender theory. But even after graduation, teachers are required to earn continuing education credits by taking online courses and attending education conferences. In April 2022, the education conference South by Southwest EDU featured the members of Drag Queen Story Hour, Ona Louise, Black Benatar, Lil Miss Hot Mess, and Cholula Lemon.
Drag is an exploration of gender in the most fabulous way that you can imagine, and that it has nothing to do with which gender you are, but more about how far you can imagine what gender can be.
Even if a child doesn't identify as LGBTQIA+ or under the umbrella, it's important, I think, that they see otherness, right?
4 of Texas's largest school districts, Austin ISD, Fort Worth ISD, San Antonio ISD, and Round Rock ISD, spent over $26,000 for their employees to attend the conference and learn from drag queens. At their 2023 conference, South by Southwest EDU will host a talk on porn literacy for minors. The talk sponsor, The Porn Conversation, offers free resources encouraging teachers to talk to students ages 8 to 11 years old about sexually transmitted infections and HIV. At the American School Counselors Association's 2022 conference, educators could attend sessions on how to become an LGBTQ inclusive school and implement LGBTQ+ affirming policies. The conference's programming also encouraged counselors to support transgender elementary students, saying, current research literature focuses heavily on high school students who identify as transgender, non-binary, and gender fluid. It's important to also consider elementary students. Teachers who accept these narratives believe they have a duty to push radical gender theory and sexualized content in their classrooms under the guise of inclusion, diversity, and equity. However, in reality, they're just confusing a generation of children.
I have a quick gender-inclusive tip to share with you all for elementary school teachers. Let's get rid of boy-girl classrooms going into next school year.
So what I do is on the first day of school, I'm asking for their pronouns.
I read to kids in drag. 3 ways that you can make your classroom a little more inclusive to LGBTQIA+ students. Say things to your class like, I'm not sure of their gender, so I'm going to use a gender-neutral pronoun.
These badges that we wear on our lanyards. If we are a safe person to talk to, or we can provide a safe space for our students.
Although parents across the country are starting to pay attention to what their children are learning at school, radical gender theory is increasingly targeting children, and it is spreading rapidly.
Can you be a girl and have a boy body, or be a boy and have a girl body?
Yes, that's transgender.
Can this person be a parent?
Yes, my dad.
It is about simultaneously adopting a queer possibility into their lives as well.
Being trans isn't like weird, and it just means that you are biologically the opposite gender, a different gender than you are.
He just now, a month ago, started hormone blockers. It's an implant. It is to prevent his puberty. It will prevent a menstruation cycle and breast development. And he is counting down the days until he can start testosterone, which would be the first time something permanent would be happening.
In the next episode of Exposed, the War on Texas Kids, we'll explore how the medical industrial complex is making millions at the expense of gender-confused children.
Exposed is a production of Texas Scorecard. You can go to texasscorecard.com to read more about these stories and more. This episode was written by Katie Drollinger, hosted by Sarah Gonzalez, and produced by Luke Marshall.